Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. I'm here with Ciaran. You alright, Ciaran?
Not too bad, but not too bad.
Having a good weekend so far?
Yeah, it's not too bad. Start of the weekend. Lovely weather, I must say.
Lovely weather. We've really enjoyed it, haven't we?
Yeah.
We are here for... We want to look at how Ighalo and Fernandes can fit in the same team at United. We've put together... Well, we've sort of half put it together.
Yeah.
There's still a few final touches we need to make with you for our best possible United starting 11.
Yeah.
Now... It's a bit of a tricky one. There's quite, like I said, there's quite a few contentious positions. Certain positions, I think, go without saying that you kind of know who's going to be in there. Yeah. But now with the inclusion of Ighalo, the inclusion of Fernandes, it makes it a bit more of a tricky question, doesn't it? Tricky proposition.
Yeah, big questions need to be answered. There is going to be somewhat a bit of a debate.
I think there is.
Debate, we're not going to be agreeing with each other, as the comments like to keep reminding us that we all have the same opinions, apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
So, for all you haters out there will be an actual physical debate today.
Haters and taters, that's what I call them.
Haters and taters.
Mostly just taters. So, yeah, we've got a sort of a skeletal type system so far, and we're going to add on to that. We'll start with the goalkeeper. Yeah. I think we can both agree, despite how good Romero's been, it's got to be De Gea.
Yeah, it's got to be De Gea. I mean, as bad as people like to say he's probably maybe not as good as he was, but he was the best goalkeeper in the world.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean he's not still very good. He's proved in his last few games, even though he's dropped a few absolute clangers, that he still is a top-class goalkeeper.
Yeah, against Liverpool and against City, he was really good, wasn't
he? Yeah, it's a City game especially, if you remember that save he made from Maguire's header. Yeah. Had a really good game. But yeah, I don't think we can make a case really for Romero starting.
No, and we'll go right back next. It's got to be Wan-Bissaka, isn't it?
Yes. No,
now Ashley Young's gone. There's Dalot there. I suppose we've seen Ethan Laird there, but I don't think... There's no chance.
I mean, the only argument you could make is maybe Dalot is probably... I don't even think Wan-Bissaka's that bad going forward. It's just he has no one... He does whip it in quite a bit, not to the... to the extent that someone like Trent does. Yeah. But the only argument you can make is maybe Dalot a bit more expansive going forward, but Wan-Bissaka definitely nailed on. I don't think there's much dispute about that.
Next up then, we'll go again, Harry Maguire, centre-back.
Captain.
First centre-back.
Like, what can you say?
I think he's been our best defender this season.
Yeah, a lot of people have been digging him out. A lot of maybe people who don't watch a lot of United who maybe just see him getting skint by the odd player in one game who say, hey, but I constantly make the case that he has improved the defence. He's not worth 80 million.
But that's not... The price tag isn't... I mean, obviously it counts, but that's just what we had to pay to get the player we wanted. We didn't think he was going to be the best defender in the world, but I think he's... For me, I think he's top 3 in the league.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's Van Dijk, then probably Laporte, and then I can't think of anyone who's clearly better than Maguire after that.
Not straight away. That comes to mind.
Yeah.
No, so
Maguire's safe in there. He's massively improved the team. The thing with centre backs, it happens all the time. It happens with central midfielders as well, like Carrick, where if you do the right thing all the time, you don't look like you're that good.
No,
the amount of headers he wins, the amount of times he's just at the near post, just knocking the ball away. People go past him very, very occasionally, but it's happened a handful of times all season. And I just think he's been by far our best centre-back.
Or you go the other end of the spectrum when you do everything right and everyone praises you and you get nominated or the lead runner for Player of the Year, not thinking of any names. Jordan Henderson.
That's funny, isn't it? Anyway, Maguire's safe. Maguire's in there.
100%.
And then our second centre-back, this is where there's a bit of... Because I personally think Lindelof's been excellent this season.
I think he's definitely had his moments where that spring to mind. Definitely the 2-1 win at City in December was a game where he was fantastic. I do think he's been caught out quite a few times this season, definitely with balls over the top, and it's not just this season. It's been kind of it's where he's been suspect. Even Jose said it when he was in the punditry studio for Sky that Lindelof has always struggled in the air. It's his Achilles heel, so to speak. But for me, I'd love to see, and I know injuries have halted as much progress as we thought he'd make the season. I think Axel, for me, I just love to see him get a run of games at centre-back, because I feel that he's just as good on the ball as Lindelof, and I think that's why Lindelof is there. He's a ball-playing centre-back, but he also has far much more phicality.
That's true.
He does it, we see against Arsenal, sometimes playing those risky passes never come off, because he obviously played it, I think it was to Aubameyang who went in and scored. But I just think, for me, he's paid his dues in the Championship, which a lot of players, seems to be the theme these days, of players playing their dues in the Championship. And he's looked really good when he's played. He's looked really good against Arsenal until he gave the mistake away. He's filled in at right back as well.
Yeah, he can do that.
So I just...
You know what? Yeah, I'll give you that.
You give me that one?
Yeah. No Lindelof. We'll take Lindelof out. Axel Tuanzebe in there alongside Maguire. I think he's obviously got loads of potential. I'd like to see more. This injury's sort of like... We've not really heard what this injury is. It's a bit strange, but hopefully he can come back and make that place his own, because whilst I do really like Lindelof, and I don't think he's been as bad as some people have said he's been, he definitely does have weaknesses that hopefully Tuanzebe doesn't have. So moving on to the left back then.
There could
Brandon
be a cause
Williams.
for a debate, but I think me and you are kind of on agreement on
Yeah,
this.
it's got to be Brandon Williams.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Luke Shaw's okay, but and right, here's something. Do you know people always, have a go at us for calling out Martial for his attitude and for his laziness or whatever. Not that we call him out all the time. I think he's been a good player, but no one ever defends Luke Shaw when you call him out for the same things.
Yeah,
like he's played loads of games. You could make a case that he's just trying as hard as he can and he's not that lazy really, but. When you call Luke Shaw lazy and when you take the piss out of him for being fat and stuff, no one sits there defending Luke Shaw.
Yeah.
And I think I would pick Brandon Williams in, but I do think sometimes the Luke Shaw hate goes a bit far. Like I think sometimes someone could do with defending him.
Yeah, I mean, my theory on first, I don't think Luke Shaw is a bad player by any stretch of the imagination. No. I don't. I would go as far to say on his day he's definitely good enough for a club like Man United. The only problem is we signed him. 5 years ago, it'll be this summer. When we signed him, and if I said to you, what would Luke Shaw be? What would you hope Luke Shaw would be in 5 years? You'd probably say
the best left back in the world.
Probably the best left back.
And also, there aren't that many great left backs in the world.
No,
so
there
it's not. It's not like right back. England have got 4. Either
probably
world class or top class right backs. Whereas in the world, there's Mendy for Real Madrid's been incredible this season, but he's still very young.
Andy
Robertson's great.
Marcelo's still pretty good.
Marcelo's is okay, but he doesn't always play, and he's getting. He's 31. Like. Alaba, but is he a left back? Is he a centre back? And has he dropped off a little bit at Bayern? Like there aren't that many top class left backs.
Seem to be the same names that have been hanging around the past few years.
Yeah, but Luke Shaw absolutely isn't in that conversation when you thought he might be when we signed him.
Which is a shame because he played really well last season, and I do think he was probably. Well, maybe Lindelof probably should have got the nod for Player of the Year, but I didn't really hate him taking home the award. But you're right, no one's really springing to his defence. And I do, I see him on the pitch, and there's all these question marks, there's all these things that have been said, like the club have rolled the red carpet out for him to make, what do they say, give you grapes, you can do whatever you want with it. And the club have given him all these things to take him to the next level, and he hasn't really. He
doesn't seem to have taken advantage of it. And there are always rumours of, does he try as hard in training as the rest? Does he sort of go along with the diets that they're setting up for? There's always these kind of, who knows how true all that stuff is.
But we shouldn't say as well, Williams isn't in there on Shaw being crap. Williams has also been excellent when he's played this season. All this narrative of him being a right-footed left-back, I don't understand how that plays massively into the role of whether someone should play whatever foot they use to kick a ball.
No, if he plays and you think, oh God, he should use his left foot there and he doesn't, you think maybe he shouldn't play. But not once have I thought he's used the wrong foot while he was playing. So it's fair enough like being aware that he's right-footed, but you can't even tell when he's playing this particular right foot. No. So we're going with Brandon Williams there, right back. Now midfield, this for me is the ground where not the controversy, but the kind of the arguments and the.
We're going to get some hate in the comments either way on this, so we can't keep everyone happy.
So I think we'd both like to see a 4-3-3, wouldn't we?
We'd like to see,
We are going to stick with a 4-2-3-1 just because that's what we've seen all season. We've seen a bit of 5 at the back, 3 at the back, whatever you want to call it, but predominantly. This is the team when everyone's fit. Who's the best? The best team we can face.
Field.
That's it. So we're going to go with the 4-2-3-1 just because Solskjaer does seem to favour that. Right. So in that midfield 3, I think we should have Matic, Bruno, and then Pogba at the 10.
So you're saying Bruno playing deeper, Pogba playing more forward?
Because I think we know. There's always we know. Obviously, we know how many goals Bruno scored, and I don't want to try and dampen that kind of creativity. But I think it will be mostly Matic staying back. I think Bruno will have a bit more freedom, even in that deeper role. Yeah. And we saw against Wolves that a lot of people thought that him dropping deeper was a bad thing, that it sort of stifled his creativity. But I think he had more time on the ball. Yeah. He could pick out his passes better. He wasn't having the ball taken off him every 2 minutes. And certainly till the end of the season, when he'll still be getting his fitness, even in these 2 weeks, I think there's going to be a fitness issue. He looked tired toward the end of the game, I thought. Till the end of the season, have him sit back next to Matic, and obviously that leaves out McTominay, and we'll come to that in a minute, and it leaves out Fred as well. But I think this sort of resurgence and this rejuvenated Matic that we've seen in the last sort of 6 to 8 weeks, I think on this current form, he is the best defensive and defending midfielder that we have. And I think Paul Pogba, when he's fit, we know he can get 15 goals and 15 assists in that 10 spot, so why would you not play him there?
No, I mean, there's definitely, you just to start off with Matic there, I definitely think he's been fantastic in what he's done the past few weeks. My only concern is where he has played really well, I just think back to a Matic who's going to play week in, week out, and I just get flashbacks to Everton last season, and it just makes me think he should never kick a ball in the shirt again. But he has done really well when he's come in. All this talk of him leaving, I wouldn't be shocked if he leaves this summer. I think he's playing now because there really is no one else there. You mentioned McTominay. McTominay, for me, but I would have McTominay in ahead of Matic.
Right.
Fully fit. At the start of the season, he was. It's such a shame he got injured when he did, because we could really use a player like him now. Not even just on the ball, but he seems like a strong character. We can't believe we're saying that in 2020. That's Scott McTominay. You wouldn't have thought that
18 months ago you'd be, who? What are you talking about? And he's one of the most sort of, I don't think, he's not going to be in the captain's conversation, but he has that kind of captain's aura energy to him, doesn't he? Like he talks like he's representing the club rather than representing himself, which is something I always like to see from players. And when it seems genuine as well, that's one of the reasons people like Herrera, one of the reasons people...
Jose loved him as well.
Yeah, exactly. Jose loved him. There's a lot of some players just come in and sort of encapsulate what it is to be a United player. And not all youth players have that either. It's not just because he came through the youth system. Like we've seen plenty of players down the years who come in and you don't always feel like they are United first. And I think with
Andreas Pereira is a good
example. You think, but with McTominay, it does seem to have that feel. And I really like Scott McTominay.
Yeah.
I just think we haven't seen enough discipline. Not enough discipline. We haven't seen enough of him in that role alongside someone like Pogba.
Yeah.
To know whether he has the discipline to be that real sort of rock there, which is why I personally think I would play Matic ahead of him. And we should talk about Fred as well, I think.
Yeah, Fred is definitely... we'd have Fred in either of our teams. I don't think that's his fault. I just think there's better players than him. I'm so happy Fred's kicked on this season. I was really afraid that it would have been a knee-jerk reaction from last season where he didn't feature that often. Towards the end of the season, he seemed to be okay. Kind of what he is now. Doing his job correctly, not doing anything flashy. And then we were like, will we keep? And then the argument against selling him was, well, he played really well in Paris that night. And kind of him and McTominay, actually, when we were short on numbers, won us the game near enough just for covering ground. I just feel he's not in our team because, like you said, before going, we're similar midfields. I'm just playing Pogba deeper and Bruno in behind.
You're saying that you're proposing Pogba and McTominay holding with Bruno at the 10.
Yeah, and the reason Fred just doesn't get into that team is when he's fully fit, you can't not play Paul Pogba. Taking all the stuff aside on whether he's going to leave, this, that, or the other, he is by far the best player at this club.
Yeah, he's the only world star at this club.
Yeah,
maybe De Gea, but not.
I don't even think
goalkeepers are never the same, are they?
No.
In terms of the marketing, the general size and scale of his fame and his status as a footballer. He's the only one we have, and that just goes to show an article that came out the other day in the MEN that was talking about how Pogba used to have Ibrahimovic to sort of hold him back. Did you see that?
Yeah, I
Pogba
did see
came in some gown or some Versace or Gucci something, and Ibrahimovic said, what are you wearing that for? You look like an idiot. And then Pogba went, oh, fair enough. And then now he comes in and says it, and Lingard says, what are you wearing that for? And he goes, this was designed just for me. Like, always changed. Pogba's, who gives a shit?
Yeah, I don't really...
and he's not even playing, he's not played for 2 months. People stirring up rubbish about him because he's the only huge star at the club.
And he is unhappy at the club, but at the end of the day, a lot of players are probably unhappy at that club. Yeah, a lot of players that we love are probably unhappy at that club.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think... De Gea was clearly unhappy here for a while.
Oh, a long time, yeah.
Yeah, so I think McTominay, Matic and Bruno deep with Pogba at the 10.
The only reason... I definitely agree that Bruno playing deeper, especially when we saw McTominay deeper and Pogba further forward when Ollie took over last season, just how good we were. And Bruno, I think, actually played really well when he played deep. Even when he's playing for Sporting, I think he averages something like 2.3 tackles a game from an attacking mid-position. So he's not afraid to get back. The only reason I'm putting Bruno there is because I really just want to see how good he really is. And if he's not that good in the 10 role, play him deeper and play Pogba more forward if we do get that chance. Although I feel we may have wasted nearly 70 million for an attacking midfielder if we're going to play him deep.
Yeah, well, this is this season as well.
Oh, yeah,
I'm hoping that next season we sign another player and then Bruno can play further forward. Just while he's getting used to the league and give him a bit more space to kind of grow it into the team. And like I said, when Paul Pogba's fit, however long we have him for, he has to be the priority in that midfield. Yeah, so what we're going with then? We've got to decide.
Yeah, right. I'll give you Bruno at deep. I'm still going to stay with McTominay, but I'll go with McTominay, Bruno next to each other, and Pogba in behind.
Let's go with that. Very good. Yeah, I think that's a nice
compromise.
Team there. And again, apologies to Fred, but if you look at the qualities he has and he's not better going forward than Pogba, clearly. He doesn't have the passing range of Bruno, and I don't think he's quite as physical and resilient as McTominay or Matic.
We're leaving out Pereira and Lingard out of any conversation.
Honestly, Those two players didn't cross my mind until you just mentioned them. Then they didn't. I wasn't even trying to be shitty towards them. I just didn't think of them.
Pereira, I think, has played more games, maybe there's only like 3 players who played more games than him this season. Something insane like that. Anyway.
Ridiculous. So there's your midfield. Then we've got Bruno and McTominay sitting deep. McTominay a bit more tackly, Bruno a bit more expansive.
Going forward,
and then we've got Pogba in at the 10. In behind, who? Who's our 3?
Well, that's the big question. The big question, because the big man's just come in. Big Odion Ighalo. What is he going to do? What games is he going to play?
Yeah.
I'll start off with my front 3.
Yeah.
Right now, everyone fit. I probably don't start Odion Ighalo, although I definitely, despite what people think, he has his uses in this team. My team, I'm going to go with Rashford on the left.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go with Martial down the middle and James on the right. Although you have a different take on it. And
I think right. So I think we can both agree Rashford on the left.
Yeah.
He's been United's best player this season by an absolute mile. 19 goals and I think 4 or 5 assists as well. He's clearly stepped on. If he's fit, he plays. For me, I as much as I like Martial up front, and I think he has shown a little bit more of that number 9 tendencies this season, I think with a sort of a seemingly tiring Dan James and Martial's lack of form in recent weeks and the way that the amount of times we have the ball in midfield and on the wings and there's either 1 or 0 players in the box is just inexcusable.
He drifts out so much.
And I know not every we don't just want someone who's just going to stand on the last man, because we saw it with Lukaku, stand on the last man just waiting to tap the ball in the net. We saw it with Lukaku, it didn't work. But we need someone who is a bit more like that, and I think Martial, we've seen him not necessarily play his best on the right, but so my team would be Rashford on the left, Martial on the right, and Ighalo up front. I think
you're going with Big O up front.
Yeah, because I just want to see him given a chance.
Yeah,
I think he's a United fan. He's got Premier League experience. He got 15 goals in a season for Watford, like. Look at the strikers who play for all the bottom half teams. Almost none of them are scoring any goals.
Yeah.
Most strikers, professional footballers that are strikers, don't get many goals.
No.
There is a handful of players in each division that score goals, and no one else does. Do you know what I mean? Like,
all Charlie Austin-esque.
No one for Bournemouth scores any goals. Yeah. No one for Villa scores any goals. No one for whoever you want to look at. Really, there's like 5,
Newcastle. All teams.
Newcastle scores goals. All teams have strikers, and some of these players, like look at. Demba Ba, who scored a few goals for Newcastle, then he stopped scoring for ages, then he went to Chelsea, looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Like this, I personally think in a better team that Ighalo could score, 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 goals before the end of the season.
He was, I think, the top scorer at the African Cup of Nations.
He got
in
9 goals.
Was it 5? Was it 5 goals or 9 goals?
It was 5 in the I think he got 9 in qualifying and.
Okay, so they added up all together. But he scored more than the likes of Mane, stuff
Salah.
like that, Salah as well. So it's not as if he doesn't have an eye for a goal,
no.
And he's still. I know the Chinese league is really bad. I know it's really bad.
He's basically just been in a training camp.
And he's been in a training camp for 2 years, but he's been scoring, and I know it's crap, but it's still something to take away that he has been knocking them away in the poor league.
Look at like Harry Kane scoring goals for who was it? MK Dons? Where was he at?
He went to Millwall, Leicester. He's been all at Norwich. He's been.
I personally think for strikers, it's more important to be scoring goals for someone than playing for a better team and not scoring.
Yeah.
Like, I think Benteke was a better player before he moved to Liverpool, because he moved to Liverpool, didn't score, has gone back to Crystal Palace, and just still doesn't score. He used to score loads of goals before
for Villa,
that. For Villa, he scored loads of goals. So I think so much of being a good striker is a confidence game that I would rather Ighalo has been scoring in China than not scoring for Palace.
And as well, and you mentioned it as well, that he is, and I know we shouldn't be signing players based on the fact whether they support United or not, but he does just seem happy to be there, and he probably knows himself he's not going to be there longer than 6 months. I probably woke up and I just couldn't believe his luck when he said when the agent rang and stuff like that, he had to double check. He's probably going to give it everything he has for these 6 months, and he's not going to set the world alight.
No.
Although I'd love him to bag. I think I can see him bagging it, maybe not a lot of goals, but crucial goals in big games.
He doesn't even have to score loads of goals. If he gets 2 or 3 goals in there, like you said, crucial goals in big games. You look at certain players Drogba's a bad example.
Diego Forlan even.
Goals, but Drogba scored less. I think he only had one season where he scored 25 league goals. Like, he would score 10, 12, 15 goals a season, but he scored in every final, he scored in all the big games. He seemed like he scored more than he did because he scored the right type of goals. If we can get something like that from Ighalo, Not that I'm comparing the two players. Yeah. Obviously, Drogba's a world-class striker, but not every goal is equal to every other goal. Look at Lukaku, how much he got slagged off for never scoring against the top six. Like,
he scored against everyone else.
Of goals, yeah. He's still got 40 goals for United in 2 seasons, but they weren't the right type of goals for people to like him. And also, talking about him not being a United fan, and you need more than that. Remember the criticism United got last season for looking like they had a team full of players who didn't want to be there? That was one of the saddest things around the time Mourinho got sacked, was that this team is full of people like... People brought Pogba into it, but certainly Lukaku was maybe
Herrera,
the main
De Gea.
one. Herrera, De Gea at that time before he signed his contract looked like he didn't want to be there. Luke Shaw looked like he didn't want to be there. Ashley Young looked like he didn't want to be there.
There was talk of Rashford not wanting to be there as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that was one of the most sort of toxic and destructive parts of last season, was this idea that the team didn't want to be there. And that's something that you look at this team, except for Paul Pogba, every single one of these players acts and looks like they want to be at the club. Which I think, whilst it isn't the only thing you need to be looking at, it's certainly a factor. So I'm going to go with Ighalo and Martial.
Any mention for someone like, obviously, Mason Greenwood definitely can't be left out of the conversation.
He's going to still be keeping that same role, a rotation role, and coming in on the right-hand side, maybe sometimes a striker. I think this is a first 11.
I don't think he's got anything to worry about. I don't think Mason Greenwood has anything to worry about playing time-wise over the next few seasons. I think, barring a mad injury or a fallout with the club of some sort.
I think he's already made like 29 or 30 appearances this season.
Yeah,
a lot of them have been.
How many? 11 goals in all competitions. Just turned 18. It's phenomenal.
Ridiculous.
Phenomenal return.
Yeah. So we've got to decide then what's it going to be. Rashford's safe on the left. And then what we're going to go for our front two.
You've made an interesting case for Ighalo, and I'm going to let you take that one, actually.
So we're going to go Rashford on the left, Ighalo up front, and Martial on the right.
Yeah, it may not be his natural position, but, Rashford and Martial on each wings is quite a terrifying prospect.
Also, another terrifying prospect that you get from that, Dan James coming on at 65 minutes. Yeah. There's a terrifying prospect for you.
We probably haven't used Dan James as we're meant to this season.
No.
Because we're so, lacking with right-sided options, and that's probably why Greenwood has played. Mason Greenwood probably wasn't even meant to play as many games as he has this season.
Probably not.
But the reason Dan James probably hasn't kicked on, and you hit the nail on the head, is, well, it's not that he hasn't kicked on, it's he's slowed down because he needs a rest.
Yeah,
he has played
every game pretty much.
Near enough every game. It's absolutely insane.
Right, so there's our team then. Let's go through it one more time. For everyone at home. Also, get your teams in. What do you think we've gone wrong? What do you think we've got right? Are we stupid? Have we pretty much nailed it?
We're probably stupid.
We're probably stupid, aren't we? Let's face it. So here's our team. We've got David De Gea in net. We're going for a back four of Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Axel Tuanzebe, and,
Harry Maguire and Brandon Williams.
Then a midfield three, we've got Scott McTominay sitting next to Bruno Fernandes deep, and then we've got Paul Pogba at number 10, and then a front three.
We've got the front three of Marcus Rashford on the left, Odi and Ighalo, probably surprises some starting up front, and Anthony Martial on the right, which should probably take people by surprise.
Yeah, but I think it's the best way to get... I think we need a striker that will be sliding in at the back post, and we've seen enough of Martial that we know that's not necessarily his strong suit, and I think that's something we will get from Ighalo. Yeah. Right, so there's our team. Like we said, let us know in the comments whether we've been idiots or whether that's a decent-looking team to have toward the end of the season there. Let us know your dream United 11 as well. No mention of Pereira or Lingard.
No surprise, to be honest. Do they really fit into that team?
I don't think they do. Not now. Not now.
As the comments will probably tell us as well.
Yeah, exactly. Right, thank you very much for joining us. We're going to be back all next week for all sorts of stuff leading up to United playing Chelsea on Monday.
Big game. Very big game.
We're only halfway through the break, but it feels like it's been years since United
This
played.
is officially a winter break, isn't it?
Yes.
This is the first year it's been done.
First ever year.
Oh, half the league is playing this weekend and we're not.
Who cares about any of those games? Yeah. Anyway, right, we'll be back all week, won't we? We'll bring you the news in the mornings, and we're going to have podcasts and all that other good stuff coming out as you'd expect from us. So thank you very much for joining us. Thanks for joining me, Ciaran.
Always a pleasure.
See you in a bit.